Welcome to the Mastercam 2023 Rollouts. My name is Patrick with the support team at Prototech Engineering. Today's video topic is going to be surfaces and solids enhancements in 2023. Let's go ahead and take a look at what they changed. So on my screen here, what we're seeing is we are seeing a quick PowerPoint here of some changes made in 2023. Find holes for solids is now its own button in Model Prep. So you'll see a new button in the ribbon under Model Prep and Find Holes. And what this is going to do is give you the ability to detect holes in a model. And then we can utilize our solids option to maybe alter them, holes, in a specific way that we'd want. And we'll take a look at this in a Mastercam file here coming forward. Another one that has changed here is solid positioning. Now we're going to see another option up in our Model Prep for solids here to position fixtures and clamps, kind of like you're seeing up on the screen there. So I can take a strap clamp and now I can mate it to a face that I actually want to put it to. And you'll see here as we go through this exercise how I can align that clamp very quickly inside of Mastercam by just picking reference faces at this point. Surface trim is easier to use. Back, you used to only be able to pick one surface. It was kind of a hassle. This has been enhanced to allow you to pick multiple surfaces and kind of get the results you want without doing it in multiple operations. So this is just going to be a little bit easier to use going forward. So let's go ahead and take a look at this on our Mastercam screen. So my first part here has a bunch of holes. Now, in this case here, my solids tree, I don't have any holes detected out of this. So what I really want to do is I want to start altering some of these holes potentially. So I brought the model into Mastercam, and one quick, easy thing to do here in the Model Prep button is to go to Find Holes. Now this is the new tab up here, ready to be used. So if I go to Find Holes, and I go ahead and I pick my whole part here, and then selection, I have some options here as far as hole operations. Do I want to create the plugs, which would be the hole plugs that go into there if I needed them? Do I want to suppress any fillets if I didn't want them? And do I want to include any split holes? A hole that's not completely round. You know, my selection can go bodies or faces. So if I just want to do a specific face, I could. In this case, I grab the whole body or the whole solid. I can set minimum and maximum radial dimensions to find. So maybe I just wanted to limit it out to certain size of hole to alter potentially. And I guess all the associative points and the plugs below this, I could dump them on a specific level so they're not all on the same level. So maybe we'll do that. We'll go there, and I'm just going to put this one on level 1000 and my plugs on 2000 if I were doing plugs. In this case, we're not going to see it because I'm not going to create the plugs. So let's go ahead and green check and see what we get here. This is going to take a little bit here to perform this task. And once it's done, it's going to give me a report on how many holes it was able to find in the solid model. And 71 holes were detected, and you're seeing on my screen here all these points. So them are the points that I was talking about where we can dump them on a specific level to turn them on and off very easily. If I had the plug option, all the holes would be plugged. Them could also be on a different level for organizational purposes also. So now in my tree over here, I'm seeing all of these. Now I had a folder here called Holes to Find, and this was empty before we started. And now all of these counter bores and simple holes are in here. Now, where is this useful? This is really useful on models as far as like this one. I brought it in maybe from a SolidWorks where I don't have any history of that model, so it's kind of a dumb solid model, right? There's no history to it. What I just did is I added history completely to this model. So I can click on these and you can see that it'll highlight which one it is. If I double click on that feature, it's going to get me into the whole wizard inside of Mastercam. So this is saying that this is a counter bore. The diameter is 314.9 with the counter bore diameter of 629 and a counter bore depth of 314. So it's probably a standard sized counter bore. If I wanted to make any change here, I could make any change here by changing any of these numbers or changing the whole style. Whatever I want to do here, I can do any changes inside of our hole wizard now, where I wouldn't have had that availability before. I would have only had the chance to use model prep push pull on all of them features. So this is a very nice feature. Something else in here that a lot of people maybe don't know is there's stop ops on each one of these. So if I drag this up, let's say I go towards the top here, and I'm just going to drop it in between here. Kind of the cool thing is if you want to isolate out specific holes, you can. Now, as far as my stop op goes, it's way up here, so I only have these counter bores above that are shown in the part. If I start dragging that down, my model will show only what's between that folder and my stop op. So that is kind of a cool and useful function there that a lot of people don't know about. And that's going to kind of do it for find holes. You know, it's going to allow you to take a dumb model, as I like to call it, and put some history into it so I can easily alter any of the holes that are in that part, or counter bores, or whatever it is for holes. So maybe you could take a peek at this one if you're into them situations where you need some history put back into these files. We're going to stay on this part here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the history. So I'm just going to remove the history here, and I'm going to go into a push-pull function. So push-pull has been great. You know, if I want to go and push-pull a face or push-pull an edge, I've been able to do that quite easily. One of the big changes in Mastercam 2023 is if I pick an edge. Now, this is going to work the same. Anytime I pick an edge, previous to Mastercam 2023, what it did is always put a radius on there. So I could grab this and I can start pushing a radius on there. Now, this is the same behavior as I'm used to, previous 2023. Now, one of the other options they added here was they added method of chamfer. So instead of putting a radius on there, now I have the availability to put an actual chamfer on that edge that I want. So that's one of the great changes. I love that one in push-pull, because a lot of times I wanted to just push a quick chamfer onto something, and I couldn't do it in push-pull. I had to go and model that on into the solids menu or extrude it on in a way that took a few more steps. So this is a great little move going forward, and I can flip between these to a fillet or to a chamfer. So that one is one of my favorite ones here in model prep for sure. So definitely check that out if you're looking to apply some chamfers to the part. We'll stay on topic here. Another change they did, and this one is a good one too, because I find myself doing a lot of splitting solid faces, depending on what I'm doing on that specific part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to draw a line across my part. So I'm just going to go and draw one across this angled here. And looks like I didn't make it through the part, so I'm just going to extrude this part up so we can see it above our model here. So here I have my wireframe. I'll leave it in pink so we can easily see it. And it doesn't extend to the edges. Now, previous to 2023, your wireframe had to extend to the edge to split that face. In Mastercam 2023, when we go to Model Prep Split Solid Face, I can go ahead and pick this face. And now I can go and select this wireframe. And I can end selection. Now, right now I'm getting the same result that I would expect if I didn't have these new functionality. I'd have to get it to the edge for it to split. But now in our operations, we now have extend to edge as an option. So if I go ahead and left click on extend to edge and green check, now you're seeing that it took this pink line that I had and extended it all the way to the edge. So I no longer have to worry about extending any lines to the edges. I can have whatever line I want and it'll take that line all the way to the edges, which is sweet. So now I can go ahead and I can grab this face if I needed to do something to just this specific face or specifically this one. So that's another very good change here in the model prep is the split solid faces and extend edge option. That's a great option to be using. And now we'll go ahead and we're going to take a look at some other stuff here. We're going to take a look at and there are my points. I should point that out, how I move them to a level. There all my points are. So if I had to do a multi-axis toolpath to drill all these, or just even a drill toolpath, it'd be an easy pick for them to go ahead and grab them. So keep that in mind. Let me turn on some stuff here, and we're going to take a look at positioning these clamps. So these clamps are currently looking good here. So just to kind of explain this out a little bit, I'm going to segregate some of this to make this a little easier to see. So I'm just going to organize this, and I'm just going to move this to a new level here. There we go. So right now, I'm kind of seeing this in a way that is already good, but I'm going to break this and then we're going to go and fix it. So up in the model prep option, there's a solid position. This is a new option up here. So what I can do is I can select a face on the body to be moved. So I want to move this clamp up to the bottom of this nut, I'm going to say. So I'm going to grab that, and what it does, it puts our dynamic gnomon on there. Now if I had to move this around, I could shift this around. I could snap to points on here to position this. And this is going to be the first face that's going to slide to another face and then stop. So now it says use the gnomon to define the center of the rotation. So I have it set where I want to. I hit green check and I say select the contact bodies. Now I want a contact on the bottom of this nut, so I select it and go end selection. So now what I can do is I can grab the Z and see how I can only push it up so far. And once I green check, now them two faces are mated. Now where does this come into play? Potentially some different areas here, like on this part. So we're going to kind of do the reverse of where it was here. So let's go ahead and reverse these steps. Solid position. I know that I want to have the bottom face made up on this face of this part. So I can select that. Once again, if I didn't get this correct, I have all the dynamic functionality here to move this around to different faces that I would actually want to align to. I hit enter, and I'm going to go and pick this face, and I'm going to say end selection. So that'll come back, and now I have the ability to just come here and drag this down. And as soon as it hits and has, nowhere else to go, it can't push it down anymore, you can left click, and it'll mate that bottom face of that clamp to the top of your part. So now this is going to take out any of the guesswork or the extra work that you have to do with dynamic motion. This will actually push it down for you pretty easily. So if I green check out of there, now that's all aligned. Now we could do the same with the aligning block. See how this one's already inside of that block? So that could be a potential issue there. I could go to solid position, and I'm going to say I want to pick this face, and this is going to be my reference. And now I could slide this up to that face until it interferes. I just left click, and now that clamp is no longer inside of that face. It's on the face or mated to that face. And it could be the same with this nut feature here. I could slide that down if I wanted to using the same function. So solid position is kind of cool. You pick what face that you want to reference off. You go and pick the face to slide to, and then you just use the dynamic gnomon to push that up. And as soon as it finds interference, it's going to stop at that point. So another good change they made here that is pretty cool to be able to do that and automate that out. And going forward, I'd imagine they're going to implement this into a lot more functionality here. So stay tuned on that. And then the last thing I kind of want to talk about just with the surfaces and solids is actually a surface function that they kind of enhanced a little bit. So what we have here is we have this sprinkler head part, And what I really want to do is I'm going to come and machine all of this out, and I don't want this. I want this all to be one surface. Maybe if I'm using a flow line tool path, maybe I just want to eliminate any of them holes easily. And what we can do here is we can utilize some of the new functions. So I already have some surfaces drawn on the screen. So my oranges are surfaces and my green is a surface. Now what I really want is I just want the center section of this where that was really rolling out. So if we look at this back, I just want this cut out here, essentially one surface. So once we come back to here, we're going to go up to our surfaces. We're going to drop down under Trim to Curves. There's Trim to Surfaces. Now we've always had this option, but you're only able previous to 2023 to pick one surface at a time. So it was kind of a tough one to utilize on a part like this. So to select the first surfaces, so I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to end selection. It says select the second set of surfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and pick all of these green ones and end selection. And now it says indicate the area to keep by selecting the surfaces to be trimmed. Well, I want to keep this, so I click on it. And I want to click here, and I want to keep that. So as soon as I slide over that, you're just indicating what to keep. And now I have a surface that is sitting all the way inside of that profile that I had. So now this probably make it a lot easier for me to machine this, potentially with the full line toolpath. So if you're a big full line toolpath user, this is pretty handy for you because now we have one nice flowing surface in there. You can see it trimmed it off very nice, and it just really matters where you're clicking. You have to indicate to keep it here, and then you have to indicate to keep it on that green surface that was underneath there. So that's one of the main changes here. As far as other options go, we could split the model where it's going to bring that back and split that all out. Extend curves to edge. Same kind of situation here where if you're trimming them off here, the extension will keep your curve going so you don't have to have it all the way over that surfaces. And the other ones are just going to be for attributes. And keep original surface if you wanted to keep that in there, not delete that out. So hopefully you can go back and check this out. This is kind of a nice little function for the people that are using a lot of surfaces. So that was a helper for that. And that's going to do it for our surfaces and solids updates in 2023. As you can see, there's some nice changes in there. The moving clamps to interference is pretty nice. Find holes is evolving. And when you merge files in, you will also have the Find Holes option built into them options also. So when you go there, you'll see a Find Holes checkbox. If you check that, it'll automatically find that for you. So keep an eye on that, and hopefully you can utilize that. And as always, if you guys have any Mastercam questions, you can always contact Prototech at 952-361-5598. And thank you for watching our video.